Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Abrahams. I'm Tricycle's senior editor. Thank you so much for joining us today for this online practice session. Uh, in a minute, I'm going to hand it over to Mindy Newman, but I just wanted to say a few things about how this call was going to work. Mindy is going to start out sharing a few words about our current situation, how that ties into the meditation, and then we'll do a longer practice with that. We're on a Zoom webinar, so all the participants' audio and video are off. But if you have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A section, a brief Q&A section at the end, and there's a Q&A panel accessible through the button below the video screen, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can towards the end. We're just really glad at Tricycle to be able to offer this opportunity for people to connect with wonderful teachers like Mindy Newman. And we're just so grateful for the support and inspiration that they can provide in these sort of challenging times. So without further ado, I'll hand this over to Mindy Newman.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I am looking at the number of participants, and I cannot believe how many people are joining us tonight. It is amazing that on your evening, in the middle of everything that's going on, you're taking the time to be here. And I truly wish that I could see all of your faces. Unfortunately, I can't, but please know that I really wish I could. And I know you're all out there. So just to tell you very quickly a little bit about myself, I'm a psychotherapist and a hypnotherapist in private practice and a meditation teacher that's taught with the Nalanda Institute. And of course, what we're going to be talking about tonight is coping with the situation that we're all living in. But before we jump into that, I'd like to just take just a minute for us to all close our eyes and just have a couple of breaths together to settle in. So whenever you're ready, just go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a couple of really cleansing breaths in. So really, really deep, filling up your lungs totally, completely. And then when you exhale, maybe even letting it go through the mouth. And doing that maybe just 2 more times or a couple more times. Feeling the pauses that happen at the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. And as you finish that, just be aware of your body for a moment. Feel your hands as they're resting there. Feel yourself sitting on whatever you're sitting on. Feel the muscles of your face. Whatever part of the body you need to connect with to know that you are really here right now. Not up in your mind reading the news, talking to loved ones, or panicking. You're here with us together, meditating in your body. Thank you so much. I was very glad to be asked to be part of this project that Tricycle is doing of offering meditation at this time, which is such an enormous gift to all of us, because this is the time when our practice matters. It is no longer a hobby. Our spiritual practice, our meditation is no longer a hobby. It's now a lifeline for us during a time that's very uncertain and very scary. And it's interesting to think about how a lot of the time before the situation that we're in, when we talk about meditation and anxiety, it's sort of like we're using it to treat something that we think is like a pathological condition. Like there's something wrong with our anxiety. Like the anxiety is a problem that exists between us, inside of us, between us and other people inside of us. And now we're in a situation where the anxiety is valid. It is appropriate to be anxious in this situation. The world is different. We don't know what's going to happen. But we do have everything we need to cope with it. We do have everything inside of us we need to cope with it. And I think that is the role that meditation is going to play for us right now. So in the past, meditation practice may have felt like something you were trying to accomplish, really wanted to master focused concentration. Maybe you were focused on the number of minutes that you could sit and meditate. All of that is not important right now. What is important is for us to be able to take control of our minds. And by that, I mean that by reading the news all day, by talking to each other, our minds are being taken outside of us, literally pulled out of us in all different directions, reading and processing so much information, passing it along. Not to mention the fact that because we're living during this pandemic, every interaction we choose to have or not have, every time we decide to step out of the house or not step out of the house, we're making a decision about, we're weighing the pros and cons, of what we think is going to keep us healthy and safe. So we're in this kind of constant mental negotiation with everything that we're doing in our day-to-day life. And that, that is tiring. That is a very tiring thing to be involved in. And I think this is where meditation is going to come in. So I've heard a number of teachers say in the last recent days, posted on Facebook, and then my teacher also said it last night, that we can treat this time like a retreat. This can become, we're literally retreating from the world and we're in our homes. And so we have this opportunity to really focus on using our practice in the way that's most constructive to us. And I don't think it necessarily really matters what your meditation practice is. Different people enjoy doing different things. Maybe you have a mantra practice that you're doing. Maybe you're doing mindfulness. Maybe you practice Zen. But whatever it is that you're drawn to, now's an opportunity to use it really as skillfully as you can. And so one of the things I mean by that is that we're now perhaps in an opportunity for a home that we can be sort of meditating on the spot. Like it's not a situation where we need to carve time out, schedule it into our really busy lives. Most of us are becoming a lot less busy, not through our own choice. And so we can at any moment sit down and meditate. And the reason why I think that's important is one of the things we need to be monitoring throughout the day is our own reactivity. Like reading the news, talking to each other, our energy can start to become kind of jittery and scattered. Our heart can start pounding very heavily. Our thoughts are racing. We're thinking about our loved ones. We're worrying about what's happening to them. We're making lots of different decisions. And that is going to come and go in the days and weeks ahead. There are going to be moments where we feel very calm and grounded, and there are going to be times where we feel really jittery and anxious. And so because we have this time, we can stop and use our meditation practice in those moments. So our meditation practice can actually become for us this living tool that's no longer bound to a particular time and place. And the practice that we're going to do tonight, this simple meditation on the breath, we're going to utilize really focusing on how to use that meditation to calm ourselves down when we need to. And to go back to this idea of retreat, so I'm kind of talking about two things at the same time. One is that we can use meditation on demand because we're sort of retreating away from the world and we're in our home. So whenever we need it, we can really sit down and start to use it for ourselves in a different way. And the other way I mean retreat is that because we're away from the world right now, for the most part, we really can start to operate in a different way. And I'd like to share with you a quote that I read online from the Council of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, which if you don't know about them, you should definitely check out online. They're really amazing. But these words are from several years ago, and they seem uniquely appropriate right now. As you move through these changing times, be easy on yourself and be easy on one another. You are at the beginning of something new. You're learning a new way of being. You'll find that you're working less in the yang modes that you're used to. You'll stop working so hard at getting from point A to point B the way you have in the past, but instead you'll spend more time experiencing yourself in the whole and your place in it. Instead of traveling to a goal out there, you'll voyage deeper into yourself. Your mother's grandmother knew how to do this. Your ancestors from long ago knew how to do this. They knew the power of the feminine principle. And because you carry their DNA in your body, this wisdom and this way of being is within you. Call on it, call it up, invite your ancestors in. As the yang-based habits and the decaying institutions on our planet begin to crumble, look up. A breeze is stirring. Feel the sun on your wings. These words inspired me so much this week because I've come to realize that embedded in the nightmare that we're living in, and it can feel like a nightmare from time to time, is an opportunity for all of us to change our way of being. That we can, in fact, emerge at the end of this, because there will be an end. We know this, nothing continues forever. There will be an end to this pandemic. We can emerge from it different. We can emerge from it having coped, having learned how to work with ourselves, having learned how to be kind to other people, and we can actually emerge from it more resilient and stronger. And I think the opportunity of the home meditation retreat we can all be in now is to do that, to cultivate the tools now to help us now with what's so difficult, and also to prepare us for a new future where we're going to be different. And we really don't have to think about doing these types of meditations as something that's really only a selfish act. I think a lot of times meditation can feel that way, particularly in our lives before this pandemic, that it's something we're doing for ourselves. We're taking care of ourselves. We're sitting down on the cushion, we're watching our breath or whatever we're doing, and we're feeling our nervous systems calm down, and then we get to feel less stressed, and we get to feel better, and we get to feel happier. And now what we have the opportunity to do is, when we sit down and cultivate that calmness in ourselves, to use it for other people. Because there are going to be moments where we're the ones that's calm and we can calm or soothe a friend or loved one. And there are going to be times where we're the one who's stressed and we need the support of someone else, or we need to use the tools for ourselves. So the self-regulatory tool of meditation is something we can do. We can really think of ourselves tonight, because I'm looking at the numbers, there's over 800 of us right now together. We can use what we're doing right now as an opportunity to cultivate skills that will help us help others. And that is, the practice of Mahayana Buddhism, is using ourselves as a tool to extend compassion to all other living beings. But in order to extend compassion to all other living beings, we have to be in a state where we can do that. And we're not going to be in that state, as I said, every moment of the day, but as we cultivate it more and more, as we cultivate more inner calm, as we cultivate more ability to rein ourselves in when we're stressed, we're cultivating the capacity to help others more and more. The other level that I want to mention for us meditating tonight is that we can actually imagine, as we're sitting here meditating, that we are doing it on behalf of all sentient beings, on behalf of all of the numberless sentient beings. So not only are we trying to cultivate the calmness in ourselves so that we feel better and that we can be calm for others, but actually, as we sit on our cushion or chair or wherever you are, we can imagine that we are generating calmness that is going to emanate out to the numberless sentient beings of all the 6 realms, and provide them with healing and calmness that maybe they can't find for themselves. I mean, 876, 75, the numbers keep changing, people tonight meditating. What if all of us had some moments of calm together? And what if all of us thought about this meditation we're doing tonight as an opportunity to spread calmness, groundedness, and peacefulness throughout the world? This would be an incredible thing, an absolutely incredible thing. So I'd like to start from that place as we move into the practice now, really imagining before we even close our eyes that we are setting the intention that we are going to meditate on our breath in order to generate calmness for ourselves, but also for the numberless sentient beings, particularly the people who are in such dire straits financially or in terms of their safety that they are not able to have the gift of meditation, that they're too busy trying to find a way to get themselves to a safe place or get the medicine or care they need. So we have this gift available to us, and we're going to do it for them, in their place, and towards them at the same time. So please come into your comfortable seated meditation position. It really doesn't need to be anything particularly fancy, however you're going to be comfortable. If you're seated in a chair, you can really find a way to either use the back of the chair to be at ease and rest your back on it lightly, or maybe it will be helpful for you to move away from the chair and sit upright. If you're seated on a cushion or cross-legged on a sofa like I am, really let your spine, feel yourself sinking down into the support of the cushion or the chair or the sofa. Feel your spine really lift up, become elevated and light. Find a place for your hands. So if you like to bring your hands into this, mudra, or just simply resting them on your legs. And I really want to encourage you, to abandon the need for a proper meditation posture at this time. This practice is about ease, is about comfort, is about calming down. So choose your posture with that intention. Whatever you've tried to do in the past to keep your spine perfectly straight or everything, perfectly upright, really let it go and come to a place where you can sit comfortably for the next 15 minutes. And then bringing your eyes to close. And as we start, just become aware of your physical presence. Notice how fast or slow your heart is beating. Feel your hands resting on your legs or in the mudra. However they're resting there, just feel your hands. Feel all the muscles of your face. Let everything soften. Let everything start to let go a little bit. Particularly noticing any tightness in the heart area. And see if you can let that soften. Give yourself permission that throughout this practice, you will adjust to find comfort and ease when you need to. That you're not doing this to do it right. You're doing this to find comfort and ease. And then bring your awareness to the breath. Noticing where in your body you're feeling your breath most vividly. Whether it's the touch of air at the nostrils, cool on the way in, warm on the way out. or the abdomen rising and falling, or the chest rising and falling. Anytime your mind goes elsewhere, it's really no problem at all. Don't even criticize. Of course, it's going to go a lot of places. Every time it does that, just tell yourself that's okay. It's totally okay. And just soften back into your breath. So as we come to the end, just take a moment to notice how your body's feeling now. Your hands, the muscles of your face, your eyes. Your heartbeat. Any shifts or changes that have happened. Any sense of calmness or ease, even if it's just a little bit that you've cultivated. And then let's dedicate together that whatever calmness or ease or comfort we've cultivated for ourselves, may all the numberless sentient beings also experience this. May all the people who are sick receive medicine and healing. All the people who need shelter find shelter. All of the animals, all of the beings from all the realms. May everyone get what they need. May all beings be happy and free of suffering. Thank you so much. So I know we have a period of time where people can ask questions, which I'm very happy to answer. If anybody has any questions, I believe Matt is going to facilitate those.
All right, so we have, there's a couple questions that I had the answer to, so you could find those in the answered tab. One is just that a few people were asking about the quote that you said at the beginning, and I pasted the text for that there. So one person says, "Hi Mindy, I feel very drained, stressed, and overwhelmed by the amount of suffering in the world right now. My heart aches and I find it hard to do any meditation related to anything but mindfulness. Do you have any recommendations on what to do to bring healing to the heart when it feels too scary to address? Do you have any recommendations on what to do to bring healing to the heart when it feels too scary to address?"
When it feels too scary to address. And just to understand the question, Matt, they said they're engaging in mindfulness practice. That's the only thing, or they're not able to?
Mindfulness is the only practice. Yeah.
I really appreciate the question because you know, this is what people are experiencing from time to time. You know, what questioner, whoever you are, thank you for your question, you're experiencing compassion, intense compassion for the suffering that's happening in the world. And, you should rejoice in this compassion that you have within yourself. That, we talk about in Buddhism that we are trying to generate compassion for all living beings. And the great compassion, the compassion that the Buddhas have, is for all beings with none left out. And it's a sense of unbearableness, that the suffering of all the sentient beings is so unbearable that we're moved to act. That is the type of compassion that we are trying to cultivate. So it sounds like you are experiencing enormous compassion, and there is a great deal of suffering that's happening right now. In addition to the virus itself, there's the social ramifications, financial, obviously, with people losing their jobs, but the reality is if people are shut up in their homes, things like domestic violence, child abuse, they're going to increase. And so, first of all, when you feel that way, I would remind yourself in the moment, to rejoice that you have this compassion that is so beneficial, and that compassion in of itself is valuable. Then at the same time, when it feels too much to bear, that's the time where we need to recenter ourselves. And so it's wonderful to hear that you're doing, mindfulness meditation, because that would be a wonderful time to sit down and do some mindfulness meditation, and perhaps do what we did tonight, like dedicate your practice to all the numberless beings that are suffering. And we shouldn't underestimate the importance of that. Because from the Buddhist perspective, we are all interconnected and interdependent. So the actions we take in our mind and our bodies, we don't know, totally the full ramification of how they're going to affect others. So by sitting down, and then bringing ourselves back to ourselves with mindfulness meditation and becoming grounded, it's very valuable. It's also kind of that idea of like when you're on the airplane, I'm sure you guys have heard this a million times, when you're on the airplane, you put your oxygen mask on before you put it on, help the person next to you. So those are the moments where we put the oxygen mask on ourselves and try and take care of ourselves. And then at some other moment, we can help others more. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Mindy. We have another question from Deborah, who says, I'm waiting for COVID test results, and I'm not feeling well. How can I feel better while I wait?
Thank you for asking that, Deborah. I will definitely be thinking about you over the next hours and remembering you, like in meditation and thinking about what you're going through. I wonder if you're talking about how to feel well in your body, or just how to keep your mind, at ease. I think, these moments are a great time to rely on the support network around us. When we're really, we've talked tonight about, regulating ourselves and meditating and helping ourselves. And that's certainly something wonderful to do. But sometimes we need to borrow and receive the calmness and support of others. And so, I am a psychotherapist, so that there is a part of me that wants to tell you right away to find some people that you can talk to if you haven't already, and express your fears and anxieties, so that you can receive their support and care as much as possible. And then also, whatever it is, taking care of yourself, drinking lots of water, resting, lying down, really taking care of your body, because you're not feeling physically well, so your body is screaming out to be cared for. So, resting, sleeping. Sometimes the best meditation is sleep. So doing what you need to do to really physically take care of yourself, but also reaching out for the support of loved ones as much as possible. And, there are moments where we need to let go of meditation and distract ourselves with some Netflix. We shouldn't totally throw it out as something that we need during this time. So, if you need some distraction, some comforting distraction, go for it.
Yeah. With more time spent indoors now, do you have any books or reading recommendations? Excluding Tricycle, I would say including it, but that's a question from Dustin.
That is a great question. So many, like, there's so many. I'm looking at my bookshelves while I'm thinking about this because I could just go on and on and on. There's some books I really love. Obviously, Dharma texts are a wonderful, important thing to be, reading at this time. And without knowing more about you or where you're at in terms of your spiritual practice, I can't suggest a specific title, in that arena because everybody is so different. I mean, that is one of the wonderful things about spiritual practice. So in terms of Dharma or spiritual books, whatever you're drawn to is very important to trust that intuition instinct, whatever title grabs you, whatever feels right. In addition to that, and obviously Tricycle is wonderful, there are a couple of books that I really like that are not dharmic per se. They're more like biographies or sort of like recreational nonfiction that are about Buddhism. And I find them great to read at these stressful times because it's still, one of them is by Jeffrey Payne and it's called Reenchantment. It's about the history of Tibetan Buddhism coming to the West. So that's the tradition I come from. So, that's more of the reading that I know about. So Reenchantment. And it's not only is it fascinating, but it's got lots of stories of practitioners and when they started out and when they met Lama Yeshe, when they met Chogyam Trungpa, he's in it. So it's kind of a light read that also has a lot of wisdom and like depth in it. And you get to hear Tenzin Palmo's in it, and you hear all about her meditating like in a cave for 12 years. So it's really like very easy to take in, and I really enjoy it. So that's one I would definitely recommend. Also, there's some books by Victor Chan. So Victor Chan is a journalist, Canadian journalist who had the good fortune to travel around with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and follow him and get to write about the Dalai Lama's daily life. And I think one of them might be called The Wisdom of Forgiveness. There's two. It's like I can't see them on my shelf, so I can't, but I know it's Victor Chan, and there are two of them. And the first one is honestly the first book that I read about Buddhism. It's the first book that made me want to be a practitioner. But it's also like you get to read about the Dalai Lama, like having his meals and having his meetings with people and interspersing wisdom throughout the day. Yes, somebody's popping up. The wisdom of compassion. Thank you, whoever just put that in the chat. I think that's what it's called, the wisdom of compassion. It's also quote unquote like a light read, but it has so much wisdom in it. And you actually, the Dalai Lama talks about emptiness and interdependence in it. So it's got some very, and it's very accessible and fun. So those are some books that I really love that I would recommend that I think are really wonderful.
So Deborah Casal says, thank you for your answer, and that it helped. And Casey says, I appreciated the perspective of meditation no longer being a hobby. This is an important shift, and I've noticed this felt sense that it's a bit feeling empty, maybe a bit pushed out or squeezed by fear. Can you provide more advice on working through that?
That's interesting. I'm not totally sure I understand the question. I'm wondering what squeezed by fear means, if that means during the meditation or in anticipation of meditation, or if while meditating one is experiencing a lot of fear. Is it possible to get an answer on that, Matt?
Casey, if you're listening, can you type that into the chat perhaps? Clarify.
If not, I'll start answering
Oh,
it.
just a yes during meditation.
Okay, right. Yeah, so of course, like, thank you, Casey. Like, of course, right now, fear is entering meditation, of course. You know, there are scary things happening. And I don't say that tonight to exacerbate the fear. I realize, you know, on some level, some people must have been coming to this talk wanting to be there to be a very perfectly calm meditation teacher who was gonna, you know, spread like a lot of loving kindness, which of course is important, but I really want us to face reality. And part of Buddhism is facing reality as it actually is. And I think we all have the strength to do that. And so, of course, fear is going to enter into our meditation. That's not a problem. It is a time, though, when you might shift in your meditation towards really focusing on self-soothing. So whatever your object of meditation is, whether it's breath, whether it's mantra, visualization, whatever the focus of your meditation is, once you're experiencing fear, I mean, the one thing too is to assess the level of fear. If it's intense, if it feels very overpowering, very, very strong, then the thing to do is to relax and bring one to, you know, like, to calm down. You know, and then people have different ways of doing that. Sometimes you might even stop meditating and do some yoga stretches or some breathing exercises, if you know some pranayama that's calming, or qigong. So sometimes taking a break from meditation until you're like kind of feeling calmer, and then coming back to it if it feels appropriate. Another way might be while you're seated, you know, right there, and you're, you know, noticing the fear like coming, if there's a technique you know of in meditation, whether it's like, I mean, one thing I think is really coming into the physical body. So for example, if your object of meditation has been like the breath or something, instead of meditating on that, when you feel the fear arising, really just reminding yourself, like, I'm here, I'm present, sort of like we did at the beginning of the class. You might even do a body scan, starting from the bottom up. I really recommend starting from the bottom up because the bottom is the ground that we're resting on. So it can literally help us feel more grounded. And it doesn't even have to be a perfect scan, like going through every single body part, just noticing what parts of the body you feel really easily and reminding yourself that they're there, and really bringing your attention to those sensations of them being there. It might even be helpful to like rub your hands against your legs so that you're feeling more sensation in your hands. So yeah, I think those would be my recommendations, is like taking a break, doing some things that are calming and relaxing, or, you know, within the meditation, focusing more on the body, feeling more grounded, you know, feeling more calm.
Yeah. We have a question about healing mantra from Pablo. What do you think about repeating a healing mantra as practice in this situation? Like, and I apologize for pronunciation, Om Benza Ratna Bandi Duma Ting Kil Ting Zatsa.
Yeah, great. You know, like if you know, like different people are drawn to different meditation practices, and mantra is very powerful. In fact, like a lot of the Tibetan teachers I've noticed online, like FPMT and Choki Nimra Rinpoche, I think, did too. Like a lot of different teachers are posting different mantra suggestions for students to meditate on. You know, like they might even recommend like particular ones. So if there is a healing mantra that you feel drawn to, like, absolutely. You know, sound is very powerful and soothing. And you can even, you know, you can imagine healing yourself, and you can imagine, as you're saying it too, that you're healing others. Yeah, that's a great way to meditate.
Thank you. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions, depending on how involved they are. An anonymous question we have is, any thoughts on being physically very far from loved ones? I'm an American abroad and will be hunkering down outside of the country for the foreseeable future. Everybody who is planning on visiting me will most likely no longer be able to come anytime soon. Sometimes I feel a bit lonely knowing that it might be a long time before I see everybody, especially my girlfriend.
Well, that definitely sounds extremely hard. Like, thank you for mentioning that. You know, I was noticing in the news today, you know, that there are people that are abroad that are not able to be at home. I'm so glad that you joined this class. And the first thing would be really to stay in touch with people, loved ones, as much as possible by video in particular, so that you are seeing their eyes and seeing their face, and they are seeing your eyes and seeing your face. So as much contact, you know, as is available to you, connection is very, very important during this time. We need each other more than ever. We need to be socially connected, you know, with each other. So, and then also, you know, there are, if you're on social media, there seem to be all kinds of online groups that are starting to form of different varieties. There are all different classes that are being taught, dance, qigong, you know, like all kinds of body oriented things. People are having dance parties on Zoom. I just, you know, like I learned about today. And really like looking for community online, I think is really important right now when people are away from loved ones. And then also, if you know something like loving kindness meditation, or if you know like self-compassion, those are two things to look up if you don't know them. You know, meditating on yourself and your loved ones might be something that you want to try doing, so that you can feel connected to them. Sharon Salzberg, looking up her loving kindness meditations, where you're actually, you know, visualizing your loved ones and imagining your connection to them. So that might be helpful too.
Hey, well, we're nearing the end of the hour, so I don't know if you want to give any final words or yeah.
Yeah. Just, you know, again, encouragement to everybody to take care of yourself, stay connected to loved ones, stay connected to each other, do your practice, be gentle with yourself when you're not doing your practice. Um, don't be perfect. This is messy. This is going to continue to be messy. Let it be messy. Let it be imperfect. And hang in there. That's what I want to say.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mindy. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We do have another online group practice on Tuesday at 1 p.m. With the Zen teacher, Koshin Paley Ellison. Then again, at this time next week with Scott Tusa. And we're going to be adding more practices soon. So you could sign up for the calls and for updates on them. Or you can also view the recordings at tricycle.org/live. So both things available there, tricycle.org/live. I'm also going to be posting Mindy's Meditation Month video series from 2018 on developing a meditation practice. That's also going to be free. And you'll be able to find that at that same website, tricycle.org/live. And I'll just add it to the chat right now. Oh, in a second. I'll add it to the chat. There we go. So I do want to say we are providing these sessions free. So if you want to help support us in this and help support other people's practice, please consider donating to us at tricycle.org/donate, or just go to tricycle.org and you'll find the donate button there. So thank you again to everyone. Thank you to Mindy. I'll let you have the last word, and everyone be happy and healthy.
My only last word is thank you so much for being here, and stay safe. That's the most important thing. Everybody, please stay safe. Have a good night.